Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Animite Tales podcast. It's been a little while. Quite a few things have changed since. The name of the podcast, for one. Almost all of the podcasts have pretty much been by us. It's just that we never really knew what to name it, so we just named it of the particular thing that we're talking about at the time. From now on, we're just going to call it the Animite Tales podcast. Mostly because it's done by the people who are making the game, but also it's because that we don't always want to just specifically talk about one particular subject, and sometimes we do. So, nevertheless, I'm sorry for the overly convoluted intro, but it wouldn't be a podcast if I didn't fluff up the intro. Completely just ruin it. So, without any further ado, we have Sam and we have Kane.
Wow, what brilliant introductions. Yes.
Well, okay, fine. Sam, who has been recently known as Adrian, but more recently known as Utili Lily, that I've actually just completely forgot that I need to change the artwork on the podcast thumbnail, because you're no longer playing as Adrian. And Kane, who is playing as Anarche.
No, I'm not. I'm no longer playing.
There we go. There might be a horrible delay. I'm hoping that isn't the case, but I guess we'll find out soon enough.
Or should have tested that first.
Probably should have, yeah. I just assumed, to be honest, that Sam just was being very quiet.
I was being quite quiet, yeah.
No, I think that is a delay.
Again, the same thing happened to Coin. Me, 5 seconds delay it was.
Jeez.
Give me a second, I'll exit and come back.
But
great start.
Yeah, this is a great start. But I was actually going to say the very least that we can actually talk about is today we're going to attempt to talk about tech prep and downtime. Tech prep and downtime, they pretty much almost always fit together, but tech is completely different to prep and downtime. But the reason why I thought I'd add this to them is because previously Alex was actually talking about the fact that we've just started introducing tech more abundantly thanks to the introduction of Utili Lily, who is actually a technology-themed character using 3 trades to do with tech and animatology and blacksmithing. Prep and downtime, however, that's more to do with stuff that I have almost always had issues with almost all kinds of games like this, which is, people want to prep, but they don't want to use up the downtime because they don't know when they're going to get their downtime, so instead they just use up the time in the game, and that can sometimes be really lethal to the pace. So I thought that we'd actually talk about it here. In this particular podcast. So first and foremost, I guess we'll probably just put this out there. Tech is tech. You can build things. You can build all sorts of things. That's pretty much it. Done. It can either be something where it's a very interesting tool, or it can be basically, a player is basically asking to make MacGuffins to deal with literally every situation. In that case, it can be very tiresome, because at that point, it's there's almost no limitation except from the materials, and that's all you have to fall back on. Okay, well, to do this, you need all the materials. And then if they already have these materials, it can be quite difficult. But obviously, you can as the DM, as the narrator for this system, with tech, you can state that the recipe requires multiple parts and components for this person to be able to build this piece of technology. I think that's a good way to limit it, but we can often come up with even more annoying situations. Like, for instance, the person not having the particular materials in the location and wanting to go out of their way to find them, even at the detriment of the pacing of the game. That is tricky, because on one hand, you want to feel sympathetic, because you've built a character that is supposed to be, one of their main things is supposed to be building stuff. On the other hand, it's very difficult because the game is supposed to be focused around multiple people, not one person. And if everyone else wants to go off and do something, even if it does seem to that one person relatively trivial, the rest of the game is being slowed down because this other person hasn't got everything that they ever wanted and desired, and therefore they want more. And it can be quite difficult. So again, like, I see it from both sides, because again, like, it would be a very annoying thing to you if you were, like, say for instance in D&D playing as a wizard, and the first thing that you start off with is not having any kind of spell book. And it's like, well, I kind of need to go and get a spell book. I need to attune one, I need to find one, I need to write one, whatever. And it would just be awful, because that you would need these things, you'd need these items to be able to actually do it. And it would just be awful. But at the same time, it's that thing of, like, if everyone is all within the accordance of, we need to do this first to forward on some stuff, and you're not going to be able to get it anywhere near here. It's very tricky to put everything on hold for it. So it's kind of a weird one. I mean, we've seen this very recently. This issue come up very recently with you, Sam.
I know. I can hear you calling me out from a mile away.
Well, it's funny enough. It's not just you who this has happened to, though. Like, it's not just you. Like, you are the most obviously recent offender, but this kind of thing has happened on multiple occasions. We've had it with people who have played as cybernetic characters. We've had people who have been playing as blacksmith characters. We've had people who play as, weirdly enough, again, like tech-based characters, animatology-based characters, even characters that specifically are like weapon collectors. And they want to buy literally everything in a store, and they don't have the money. And therefore they want to instead rob a store, didn't really anticipate the security measures in place, which is clerk takes a hold of some of the weapons in the store and fights back. And they didn't anticipate this, and therefore they got very salty because it didn't work out in their favour. So again, this isn't just you. I'm not specifically pointing you out. It's just that all of the things that I was talking about are the most recent things that have happened to a character who has relied on a trade where they build things, where they require materials to build things, or they require outside items for their build to work. Nothing? Nothing to say to that?
What? It happens.
Okay.
No. That kind of thing happens whenever you're playing a character that requires components.
I mean, it's true. It does.
That's part
At some
of
point. One point
part
or
of
another,
the.
it happens.
You know.
It's
It's like when people use guns or or like any kind of weapon. It's like, oh, I need bullets. I can't get bullets in this location because we're in a jungle. I shall try and make bullets from something. Then we waste time trying to make bullets from coconuts. It's like, well, okay then. That's the thing that happened.
And
that just happens.
it is tricky. Like, I don't deny your struggle. However, no,
Can't deny.
No,
My struggle to collect glass.
I don't deny that you struggle to find items and that you struggle to get items. Like, I don't deny that. I also don't deny that it is tricky when you want to build something or you want to make something and you don't have the components yet. That is irritating. There is a genuine struggle when you're basing yourself on an item that is either potentially not, you don't start with, or potentially destructible, meaning that, like, at some point you're going to need to build it or repair it. I will say, my biggest issue is that, like, obviously I can't give you everything. You have a list of different recipes of items, and I told you can have any of them, but you can only have up to 3. And obviously you picked out your items, and I even gave you bonus items.
Yeah.
and still that seemed to be not enough because I know that you wanted some other items. Like I know that you wanted your specific like special science weapon, but the level of adamant that you stuck out for it, even going to the point of which like straight up arguing with me, made me feel like I have to ask this question. Made me feel like I have to ask it, which is, do you feel like the choice that you made was bad? Like the choices of the items that you made were bad?
I mean, but to be honest, part of me is thinking that maybe I was play drunk at the time. Part of me is thinking, I'm level 70. By now, everyone has like 20,000 items on them. I have
Actually,
3.
That's not true. The funny thing...
you're talking like Cloak with his 4 swords and Raki with their 6 whips.
I want to point out something. He doesn't have 4 swords. He has 1 katana, 1 gun, and 2 knives. Both of which, one of which he started with. So he has taken weapons every now and again, but he's also lost them. Technically, he's actually got less items than you currently own. And weirdly enough, same with Anarche. He has equal to.
I technically started with 4. Technically,
you started with 4, but only because that you had a pistol, and I said, well, since your only perk that you have is dual wield, I will give you.
So I do that. I had a random katana or a sword, and then I got the. Then recently, I got the split staff.
But even then, you got that made later on in the game. So technically, yeah. But it was. It's that thing.
I was trying to make something.
Yes, and this is where I come to it. The difficulty of tech, which is sometimes you are not going to be able to end up in a place straight away that you can have all of your gear. Like, it's just sadly not the case. Like, you won't be able to start off immediately being able to build everything because A, that's not really the setting that I've built for you guys, and B, what would have been the point in me saying that you can't have all these things at the beginning of the game if I then just gave you them at the beginning of the game?
No, I would have had to build them.
You're not allowed a legendary sword. Now here's a legendary sword.
Hey, no, don't worry. Now I can make legendary swords. But there's no materials, so no one will get any. They're scundered.
I mean, I guess they'll find a way to deal with that. Oh, jeez. I think most of them have weapons that are good enough anyway. Which I was actually going to talk about this. Like Kane, Anarche has a legendary weapon, doesn't
he? Yeah, but that was that was given to me through technicality of a previous game.
Well, yes and no.
Yeah.
Yes, it was given to you via technicality, but no, because when you got it, it was legitimately rolled for. And all this.
No, that weapon didn't end up legend. Oh yes, no,
yes,
you are right.
It's just that we updated its legendary effect. Because we couldn't remember exactly what level it was based on. But it was legendary blood transfused. And I think it was legendary crafted, or was it just regular crafted, actually?
No, it was just regularly crafted.
But it's still based on the regular crafting modifier
it was still pretty good for a titanium weapon, though.
Yeah. So, and again, just as a reminder, this is not you making a new character, this is you having a continuation character with a few retconned bits and pieces due to the fact that the prior one had some stuff that just didn't work with this setting. So we just gave it where it's like, okay, you kept some of your items that weren't from some of these weird campaigns. So all of the ones that were based on the most conceivable facets of the universes that you've been to. So you kept your sword. And that was about it. You literally lost every other item that you had.
My nullifying gun.
Yeah.
My flaming sword. My gauntlets of extra strength.
There's so many things for so many campaigns, and it was like this one was the one thing. So it's like
my ice sculpture.
Yeah.
I think he's making ice sculptures in every game.
Okay, no. Technically, it was two people frozen in ice that had a rune on it that kept it from never melting as long as that was But then it was in my pocket dimension. That was also unblowing of time. So I just had an ultra permanent ice sculpture of two people on it.
The funniest part is that you didn't even freeze them. And you didn't even keep them that way. It's just that you were like, okay, just to make sure that the magic definitely doesn't get broken, I'll place them in the pocket dimension. That was the only thing that you added to that situation.
And I had a bleeding man in there for a bit, but that's off topic. But yes, no, yeah.
So yeah, it was a weird one, but the same thing with Rakia and the others. Like they have got some really good weapons, but I think the only technically proper legendary it comes from I don't know if you can count it. Actually, no, I guess you have to count it which is actually no, you couldn't because he didn't actually get legendary. But the blood transfused item of the staff that what's his name has. Oh my gosh, what's his name?
Oh, Fletcher.
Connor, yeah, Connor's character Fletcher. It wasn't legendary blood transfused. And neither is the new one either. And then the funny thing is that Raki doesn't have any legendary blood transfused weapons.
I don't think anyone does.
Well, actually, there is one person who does have a legendary weapon. You could argue that it has blood transfusions in it, but I'd argue that it's more legendary because of the special effects it has. You could argue that they all share abilities from
the gun. Yeah,
but the gun roulette, yeah.
I mean, that is a legendary weapon. Because it's one of a kind.
And it has bundle of special powers that we some of which we've seen, some of which we still don't know.
Cloak's handy dandy gun.
Yeah. To be fair, there are also things I need to make, which I will have to get around to at some point.
Yes, yeah. I think everyone's coming to that point where they're building themselves in certain ways.
Although I will say, unlike Sam's character, mine is just more for fun, being realistically. I don't need any of the stuff made.
Yeah.
It's purely for me to mess around later on.
That's one of the craziest things about this system, though, is that you could have two people that have the exact same trades, and yet one of them might very well be reliant on the trade. I need to be a swords person, or I need to be a tech savvy. And then you just got this other person who has these trades. I have some sword proficiency. I am tech savvy, but I don't need to. And it's either due to the fact that they have one other particular proficiency that is their main focus, their favored type of playstyle, or they just have a power, racial ability, or even special effect that enables them to just be stronger in another way, and the other way that all of the other trades are just there for extra stuff, to have fun with and to mess around with, and potentially to help everyone else out with, or potentially just be there as an extra distraction for some more milestones, which is always quite interesting. But as for tech, I think there's a couple of things that you could say that have gone very well with the system so far with tech, and there's some things that have not gone so well. First one is obviously, as we were just talking about, the requirements. Sometimes the requirements can be a bit annoying, but again, that's just the way that it works in the system. It just that sort of thing. Oh, my powers rely on me being around sunlight, and then you're almost always in dungeons and caves. Sorry. That kind of sucks to be you. However, you could also say the same thing with tech. I require these particular materials. These materials don't exist on this island that you're going to be spending quite a lot of time on.
To be fair, though, I think that's also part on DM's part. Not entirely, because it's still the player's fault, but it is down to the DM to be like, hey, this is the sort of situation you're probably going to be in for a while. are you still sure you want to do this? Like with the, like you say, the Sunlight and K are like in dungeons and that. Like, you sure you want to do that? This is what we're mostly going to be doing.
That one is a much more extreme version of what we have with the tech one.
Yes.
But yes, you could be in a situation like that. It's like, okay, I want to start off with a gun, I want to start off with a sword, and I want to start off with like a toolkit. Okay, yeah, because it's not going to be that bad, is it, for tech? And then it's like you begin, and you still haven't told them, like, so, guys, you're in a desert about 300 years ago, technology doesn't exist, good luck. And you're like, I just put all these levels into... Yeah, at that point, yeah, there's a communication error. If you as the player don't know what you're getting into, that's, that is a bit tricky.
There has to be some brief understanding.
Yeah.
That, hey, this is probably going to be difficult for you, and in some circumstances might be impossible. You could still do it, but I would not recommend it.
It's one of the reasons why I'm not too sympathetic in this situation for Sam, for you, Sam.
Wow. Wow.
Well, because you knew what you were getting into, because you've been pre-warned many times.
I mean, I was aware that these people didn't have cars, didn't have like anything more advanced like the 1890s. And they didn't have electricity. But I would assume any culture would have glass blowing.
They do. It's just not the town that you're in.
Century.
They do, just not the town you're in.
Yeah, that was like the most backwards town.
It is supposed to be a very small town with not a lot going on. It is. I mean, its name is Midland for crying out loud.
All I will say for this is the way it was sort of brought up was like it's a route that people take in between without going deliberately across the border. You would kind of hope there'd be some trade going in and out of it, because otherwise that place seemingly does not have the jobs to actually sustain itself.
Yeah. But again, they get most of their trade from the fact that because I don't know if I explained this, most of their trade comes from the fact that they have a few farms, and they trade in ale and all that sort of stuff. Not just ale, but sake and all that sort of stuff. And it goes out to both the south and the north, and then the north and the south basically trade anything that they particularly need. Then they have the general store that sets up for actual money and income. So they don't trade in the same way. Like farmers and the bar will actually make trade with certain people based on the stuff that they need. However, it actually is based on stock. So it'll be we need extra wood, or we need stone or glass or something like that to use for certain things. Maybe even metal for metalwork. But they don't really sell that sort of stuff because, again, it's they only get enough for what is necessary. Again, didn't think that I needed to fully explain it, but also because that I'm just throwing this out there. I had very recently been told that I don't need to keep overly explaining stuff. So I didn't overly explain this, and therefore it became a detriment to a couple of you in the last couple of sessions.
Well, yeah, but no.
Yeah, but no.
It wasn't really a detriment.
Not to you.
Well, no, not to most of us.
That's what I said. One or two.
Yeah, so then it wasn't really an issue. I was just more curious about it because geologically where it is and the sort of people they'd be dealing with. I mean, yes, I could understand also of the pirate situation that they had, that I would imagine that most of their stuff would probably get taken by them anyway.
Pretty much,
But it's one of those things where I guess it's really a place that has nothing really much of value to anyone if it's not growing.
Yeah, I mean, again, the main things are from it is that it gets booze and it has certain types of stuff that.
But even then, they're not a main producer. They're that little of an importance.
Yeah, they are absolutely they are, and it's one of the reasons why one of the things that they said to you why Theodore said to you, by the way, if you are taking the pirates down, we need some kind of protection. And that's when Cloak said, okay, well, you need to make a treaty with some of the soldiers from the south. Let them in here, and they will take care of you. But you have to let them in, because again, the only way that they let people in is they ask them to basically remove all their arms and place them in a location outside of the town, because they don't want to deal with any of that kind of stuff. Again, like having this but obviously you guys are now moved off immediately from that, so you won't really get to see too much of that place thrive or even change in any way, shape, or form.
Probably not, considering they're believing that the prick guy who thought, well, dreams are stupid.
I mean, to be entirely fair, again, since you don't really know too much about that character, you don't really know who that guy is. And I want to throw this out there.
Nor do we care. Let him die.
I like how you assume as if he has any pull with the town, other than the fact that he just made a bunch of people laugh.
No, he's just some sad guy with a petty existence.
Exactly.
Basically, yeah.
See, Kane gets it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, that was the entire singularly point of him. I wasn't even there, but his whole thing is he's a sad person with no ambitions, and thus he hates actual other people who have ambitions.
Yeah.
Because he can't actually do it himself.
No,
so
exactly.
The best he can do is try and take the mick out of them.
And that's exactly.
So essentially self-justifying for his own stupidity.
Yeah, he needs to feel as if he has justifying, he's justifying his own reason as to why he's not happy by saying, "Oh, well, being happy is a sham," which is the most hilariously backwards thing that I could think of for a character that is so easily hateable in a situation like that. Again, I was making a very big reference to something which I won't bring up here, but it's probably one of my all-time favorite things, though, is seeing the kind of tech that you can make. And how well it works, but also seeing it break. And not because I'll go, "Ha, screw you, Sam, your stuff is broken." Not at all. It's actually because that it then means that there is a genuine threat of this stuff being so damn useful. And something that I heard in I think it was in Justice 2, Brainiac says knowledge is like any other trophy or trinket. It is greatest and at most valuable when it is at its rarest. And it's exactly the same thing for machines and anything of use. It is much more valuable when you know at any point it could be lost to you. Whereas if you made something that was impervious to all damage, can never be destroyed, and was always perfect and never ever faltered or failed, it's just at that point it's does this need to exist? Could we just have this theoretical item that you've made just be a skipping point where we just skip to the next scene or skip to the next chapter? Because at that point there's no point of its existing if it can't be damaged and it can't ever fail or falter. And it's one of the reasons why I like that it has ways of being able to protect itself, but it can also be damaged and it can also be destroyed, as we saw in the most recent episode. And I like that with all of your pieces of tech, but I also like that adds to their value. That at any given moment the pieces of tech can be destroyed, and yes, you can fix them, but who's to say that you can always get to it in time? Who's to say that all of the pieces will be salvageable? You'll need to find new parts and pieces. And stuff like that. And I do promise you this, obviously when you leave the island, it'll be a lot more easier to get parts, because more than likely almost any other location you'll go to will be a lot easier to deal with. Except from probably Glandrine, if you go to Glandrine. Although, again, arguably, they would probably not have a single one of their towns or villages without stuff like glass blowers, and I don't know about plastic manufacturers, maybe only in the big city, but even still, you can still get your hands on
at some point
stuff.
they'd have to have stuff like that, because they're they're about on, as far as I'm aware, they're about on par with everyone else in terms of technology, aren't they? And they're known for
Glandrine is also medieval, but the reason as to why almost every town would have a glass blower is because it's a lot more common of a trade and stuff like that. And they don't really have too many small towns that don't have at least one person of every trade. It's just that like the reason why I say like plastic would be quite rare is because like it just probably would be, because again they're sort of more medieval in the way that they have their technology. They don't really have any, because they're sort of like still in the whole, sort of like, very analog in almost every sense. However, almost any other location that you went, technology would be in abundance. Even in a location like Eden or Matrata, where most of their stuff is animatology, you'd still get a possibility of somewhat modernistic technology or even futuristic technology. Same with Garrison, same with Irish City, same with Huskonia, Aquacity, and Collegium. Even though that it would nowhere be near as easy to find it, it would still be in relative levels of abundance of like plastics, rubbers, metal, glass, all sorts of mechanical things in Emjanar Linear, the desert country. Because again, like it's sort of like Mad Max sort of as a continent. So again, like there's a lot of possibilities for all different locations that have so far been confirmed in the world. It's just that the current location that you are right now is more of a tricky location because it's as you said, it's a very backwards place. It's very set in its ways.
It's I keep saying it's I can see why it was conquered why it's conquered so easily by a band of pirates.
Well, that and also that they're incredibly powerful, but yeah,
sure. Easily conquered by a bunch of pirates.
Again, stronger than you. Just saying that. Like...
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but do you see them taking over? Any other country?
I mean, the dude does own a few islands. Like, it's not just
like
these people.
You don't see him.
I gotta agree on
Eden,
Sam with that one. In that case, like, yes, they have conquered a country, but technically, although it is a country of warriors who are very strong.
Most of them are set in their ways of not wanting to use powers.
And he does own a big sea. Islands technically might as well basically have no residents or anything that could actually threaten him. And the fact that every other country is technologically more advanced would help them by a massive degree.
Let's see them in Garrison, do you?
Well,
yeah, but like that wouldn't really be a problem for him.
I think it would, but not in the way. I think it wouldn't be worth it.
Yeah.
I think he would lose a lot more. That's the thing. As strong as he is, he would lose if he attacked a country like Huskonia or Garrison or something like that. He would lose a lot more than it would be worth, even if he won.
Yeah, like strategically, like he would probably theoretically he could keep quite a lot of his commanders theoretically, although probably not based on like how easily they're getting taken down. But like even if he was able to keep his top 5 subordinates, like his generals and his right and left hand, that's still potentially like up to 100 minimum, and like a minimum 100 people on this crew just wiped out, taken, captured, killed. Or even just turned.
It'd probably be more than that, to be fair. I think that's being generous.
Let's be honest as well. Most of the other countries, I'm assuming, have some kind of agreements with each other.
Not all of them, but most of them. Like
I'm assuming, like as I said, I'm assuming most. So
they at least have peace. They at least have peace. They may not have close relations, but at this point in time, basically every country is in a stalemate peace. It would seem.
Yeah.
So,
if one of the countries were to be invaded, we'd probably do it if only just for like the good PR, or to be like, you owe us one.
No.
Yeah.
Is that they'd probably send.
I could see maybe. I could see maybe the center and Garrison.
Yeah,
because not only are they both
part.
They're not only on the same continent, they're both part of the same hero organization.
Yeah.
Huskonia has kind of, although it is contact with the rest of the world, it also has separated itself because of prior events. So maybe, but I think if they did, it would be kind of forcing Huskonia into a corner. Like they'd be like, "Hey, join us, or we won't help you."
Hey,
and
that's a crazy war you got going on there. Would be a shame if no one was to come to your aid, unless, of course, you slid on into our DMs and perhaps, gave us some of that sweet, sweet oil or whatever they specifically want. I don't know. Give us some ice for our drinks or something. I don't know.
But what you see what I mean is that unlike most other ones,
unlike the Land of the Sunken Moon, there would still be a lot more that they would have to deal with.
I think the only
and again, I think you'd lose a lot elite power basic soldiers to the point where a lot of his prior things that were working would collapse, and then he would probably have to take at least a few years refixing it, which could be a massive issue for other pirate lords to then come in. So, again, yes, he may be the most powerful thing alive, right? But the consequences of him actually attacking a proper country would cripple what he's built up for years so much that it would not be worth it.
And as
we both agree, glad you said proper country.
We
both agree to that.
Well, because they are yes, they may be powerful warriors, but their economy, their technology, everything is behind. The only reason they stand up a par with some other countries is through powers, which makes sense. That would happen, but
I was actually going to say the only thing that I disagree with the terminology of proper country. And the only reason that I say this, the only reason I say this is because there are still countries in this world right now that are lesser technology than us. Like, they have civilization.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Technology than us.
Yeah.
And it's like, they're still countries, it's just that their civilization level is not up to the current ones that we have.
Yes, sorry, my British was speaking.
Yeah.
What I'm assuming is that those other countries are at least trying to advance. As this country is deliberately staying stagnant.
Yeah, they are deliberately trying to stay in the old ways. I imagine a lot of other places are actually trying to match up to other places.
To be fair, after playing a little bit of Ghost of Tsushima, I also can see just how stubborn the ideology of the samurai is, as well as if there is an easy way out, then that is not the way of not the way of honor. And it kind of makes sense that the southern region that are supposed to be no, even if you have powers, you either have to get rid of them and train them like crazy and then put them into a special sacred weapon, because that proves that you trained hard and you're no longer you're no longer burdened by this thing. I want to point out something as well, very interesting. You can actually get rid of your powers and sacrifice them by placing them into items permanently, forever, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You still end up having an Animite weakness. You still take multiple times Animite damage, depending on your particular race. So, technically...
They're still doing a dumb move, then.
Yeah, technically, yeah. They are doing this thing of no, it's fine, I'll get rid of my powers, I'll put it into something, and now I can wield this thing. This weapon, that could either be removed from me or destroyed, and forever losing the things that I was not only born with, but also spent multiple years training and providing. I'm not disagreeing with you, by the way, on the fact that it is a very overly stubborn country, and it's it does seem a lot of very backwards and very, in certain ways, very dumb. Well, hang on a second, you have this power, why are you getting rid of it? Because the honor code demands it, and it's obviously it's in certain ways it's a detriment. But at the same time,
still too stupid to survive.
But at the same time, it's that thing of they're not doing very well against a massive threat that has way more power than is necessary. And yes, they're refusing to further forward
also,
themselves.
the country isn't even fully together at this point.
Yeah, they're split across two separate
They're literally
regions.
they're split, so they're basically in the terms of a civil war while having to deal with this, which fair enough makes it even easier for the pirates to deal with it. So fair enough, but it's commendable, but kind of stupid how honorable they are, which I'm not saying is a bad thing that you've designed. That's just all I'm saying is that's how they are.
But there are actual genuine in history and in current modern times. There are genuinely civilizations. that genuine like civilizations that are so damn stuck in their ways that they would rather see their current country go to ruin than to see their current generation ruin their traditions. They'd rather their traditions die out with them and let everyone else in the world know that their traditions died with them, rather than it died and they all still continued living. That is a thing that happens even to this day, and that has happened in history multiple times, multiple occasions, where people would be genuinely too damn proud to admit to something because they didn't want to lose face.
Well, yeah, obviously. I mean, that's, like you said, it's why multiple civilizations has crumbled in the past.
Or be known as very downright stupid ones, even if they do eventually keep going.
So is that most of those civilizations, regrettably, some of them do tend to cease to exist.
Yeah.
They're overrun by other people. That's what I'm saying is going to happen to this country.
Yeah, and that's why you're supposed to be like saving them.
Which is why we're meant to care about these dumb people who hate us and our very existence. Yeah.
Well, we're
going to save these people.
That's only half the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, also you got to remember, like Cloak is wanting to do this because it's both that factor of he's from the southern region, but also it's because like maybe if they stop this, like I don't know if this is actually Bill's goal, but theoretically this could be a possibility. Where it's like maybe if they stop this and they kill or defeat your Kaiga, scare away all of these pirates and defeat them, and as they're building this rebellion, they're basically saying, look, we understand that like you have your traditions, but are you not seeing yet why they took you over? I mean, yes, the whole thing, you'll find out later, but the whole thing didn't come from the factor of an outside source seeing the country and going, ooh, gimme. He didn't, Young Kaiga isn't from an outside source. He was stated to have been born in this country. Like in this country, and eventually, as he got bigger, as he got stronger, as he got older, he then started realizing, like, oh, this place is downright racist. It's downright evil towards anyone who's different and who isn't human. And like one of the things that he then did is that at some point he just decided, I'm gonna kill the emperor, and then I'm just gonna take a bunch of prisoners, and we're gonna go live on an island, and this is my territory now. Deal with it. And they at first obviously didn't really like that idea until they started realizing, oh, we can't really do anything because this guy is too strong. And that's sort of like the very important part about that part of the story is it wasn't someone who just went there and went, ooh, I want this. It was this guy who was just like, no, this is done. I'm going to take over. So what that tells you is nobody from the outside world cared enough about it to invade it. So that's kind of part of the reason as to why it hasn't ever been invaded beforehand, because it just wasn't worth it.
Is there anything actually in the country worth stealing? Does it have gold or oil or precious metals?
Well, other than like decent food and booze.
So that's it? All it has is booze?
Oh, no, well, let me finish, dude.
Country?
Let me finish, dude. It also...
The swords are made out of sake, it's just liquid swords.
Splash. No, they actually have... they actually have two very large ores that are mostly well known from that country. One of which you might recognise as Mineral, since they have massive ore veins in the Land of the Sunken Moon, to the point of which the richest family in the Land of the Sunken Moon is theoretically the richest family in the world, or at least one of the top 5, purely because that they are a family who have the largest or one of the largest ore veins of mineral and have the largest mineral mine in the world. So
what I am surprised about then is that no one's either stealthily or just over the cover of, oh, there's bad people here.
Because
the pirates here, we have to take it over and make sure the mineral comes back with us.
Because the issue is that when it's raw, you need a certain specific type of forge or forging technique. And yes, you could theoretically invade, take it, and then leave with all of it and stuff like that. But not many people knew about it. like, still even to this day, not many people know about it outside of it. Some people know that, like, you can trade, like, for mineral stuff there, but not very much. Because again, like, not many people talk about the Land of the Sunken Moon too often. And on top of that, now that Yolkaiga is, and has for the last 22 years, been pretty much the warlord of that ocean, nobody really thinks that it's worth it. Because as great as it is, they not only need to get it, steal it, take it all the way back, but they also need to navigate through an entire country full of not only, like, super aggressive samurai and super aggressive ninja, but also super aggressive pirates. So it just ends up being this thing of, like, it's not worth it. We're basically going to this hick town, trying to find one of the most difficult materials, one of the most lethally, like, dangerous people have it. And if we were to bomb the whole thing, we'll just call an airstrike, who knows who is going to survive and come after us for it? Also, who's to guarantee that won't also damage the mines? So it's that thing of, like, there's nothing you can do to shortcut your way into it. Like, there's just no easy way.
Yeah, so what you're saying is, as soon as we get Yolkaiger, immediately there's going to be people coming in, destroying the country, taking the mineral, now that the actual annoying person is gone, and it's just the people with swords.
Well, okay,
no
hang
powers.
On. Give it 2 years for politics first.
Yeah,
and then it will happen.
I was also going to say, you've also got to remember of something else. As I said, not many people know about it. Your character sure as hell wouldn't.
No, but anybody that does outside of it, I mean, there's probably some rich billionaire playboy philanthropist guy saying, want that.
Yeah, too bad we don't know anyone like that in the campaign.
No, it's not like they would love to see more fighting and would sell that information to countries to start
absolutely.
more fighting, to see more happening and to have countries clap. No, I wouldn't. No, that definitely wouldn't happen.
I think what's funny about this is that for the last, like, almost 20 to 30 minutes, we've talked about, like, the lore of the game, and not actually the thing that we were supposed to be talking about, which is also the prep and downtime.
Well, for
one, is better.
One, I agree with that statement, and two, I'm here, so we're going to get off tangent.
We're just talking about how we think Land of the Sunken Moon is a kind of dumb place.
Well, okay, I will.
I get the country idea. I get what it is, but, like,
yeah,
the reason it's not being conquered yet, the only reason it's not being invaded by other people, is because it's actually got another invader already in it that's too annoying to deal with.
Basically,
as soon as he goes away, or, like, we take him down, he's like the nuclear weapon deterrent.
Unless agreements are made outside the country, which seemingly the northern side has at least some connections with other countries, considering other people come in and out. I imagine they must have
three possibilities that I've seen so far. The first one is one of the crew stays in the Land of the Sunken Moon and basically becomes its protector. Either that being obviously an Arche or Cloak. And the reason I say Cloak is because after this, he's going to want to take down Talos. And again, if he's got that band on him, the whole world is going to see that he took down a massively powerful gravity user. At that point, people are going to be like, yeah, I'm not going to touch that place because we already had an issue with Yolkaiga. Now we've got this guy who is just impervious to most things and stupidly powerful. Or again, if it's the person, like, say for instance, if it's an Arche, or I don't know, if it's any of you guys who end up actually fighting Yolkaiga, it's that thing of, like, this guy had a hand or was the one person that ended up defeating the strongest creature in the world. Yeah, I'm not touching that country with a 10-foot barge pole. It's not worth it, right?
I still want that house.
The other two possibilities, and this is actually funny enough, like, another particular thing, is the first deterrent is they actually end up making a truce, and the country becomes more widely known for its, like, more powerful capabilities of both mixing willpower, techniques, strength, mineral alongside other ores, like, to complement each other's different styles of fighting and styles of, civilization, potentially even evolving themselves a little bit further, but also then having it that, like, you've got all of these, strong powerhouses defending the entire country properly. You then have it that, like, okay, nobody wants to touch that because now they both have the idea of starting a civilization a bit better, and almost every inch of the country he's at least got someone who is of a Zayton level to hang around and basically be a guardian. And then the final one, and this is actually kind of not even based on power scaling or anything. It's actually more just I guess you sort of corporate, which is technically also you got Bright and Soul Industries, because they're trying to make networks. If they can get at least the northern side, but potentially also if somehow after the defeat of Geiger they're able to get the southern side to agree, they could have a very big station of technological advancements in only a few years. And then at that point there's no point, because again, Bright is a tech company and Soul Industries is a pretty much anything that we can get our hands on company. And we teased that at the end of the Cruise saga, or the Cruise arc, because we had Lumine Soul, we had Amon Bright, and we also had Aquila. Is it Aquila Acello?
Yep. There you
go. So having those things has proven that there's a bundle of possibilities. Obviously, the last one.
Or the country just comes together and actually just decides to sell their mineral to people at high prices, and then they can just advance that way.
Yeah,
that would also be a smart way.
Oh yeah, I was imagining it would probably be, if we are going to do that route, would be the northern side is the only side that agrees, and more or less they just agree unilaterally. We'll take down the southern side finally. Turn this Cold War into an actual war.
I mean, with the current leader, I don't see that happening. But depending on certain actions, I could also see that happening. So
they could easily say, "Oh, look at them! Look at how they're treating these people. They're forcing them to live in these hovels and deal with these totalitarian regime of honor and crap."
They have got the good RP route. I will give them that.
We've got to free them.
I will
let them evolve.
I will say you're freeing them from pirates and not freeing them from hovels. I was also.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. The northern side would say about the southern side.
But I was also going to say another thing is that you've also got another issue, which is of course Cloak, because at the moment Bill's playing Cloak, who's from the southern region, as I said before. And the biggest issue is if he started catching a whiff of the oh yeah, by the way, we're gonna help the northern side wipe out the southern side and then repopulate it with all just the northern. I think he might have a few issues with that.
I'm not saying I would. I'm saying the northern side would probably do that.
I mostly again, unless
he doesn't care about this backwards country.
Again,
as soon as she's out of there, she's never going back.
Yeah, we already know that. The Sam spite is strong within her. But I was going to say, in the northern side, I think I agree with you, Kane. Unless if they changed emperors, I don't think that they would take that approach.
It wouldn't get allowed.
No.
Under any circumstance, because the current two most powerful leaders on the northern side, one of them I think would, but only if it. Yeah,
he would have to also be emperor.
Very pushed. Yeah, you'd also have to be emperor. The other one is absolutely not. That would never fly under him. But again, I think it could happen if things were really pushed, false information, having events happen that are very shadow politics moves. To make it happen. That's the only way where you basically where you force the emperor's hands to do it based off false actions. That at the minute is the only, actions that the southern side have actually taken. That is the only way I could see it happening. Very, very pushed. Although there is already a tension between both sides, so how much pushing, I don't know.
I was also going to say, there's something tying into this as well, which is actually talking about this now, I guess, is prep and downtime. As I was actually going to say, one thing that is actually tying this in quite well is the fact that, to a certain degree, we talk about this here, there, and everywhere, and it also allows us to understand a little bit more about, the preparations that we take in downtime, or just the preparations in between sessions. Now, when we talk about downtime, this is usually time that the characters would still be technically existing and doing stuff, but we're not playing as them. Like, usually, like, it would be, say, for instance, okay, we're going to skip to a week. What was everyone doing during that week? You know, I was training. I was going off and getting some food, or I was, going off and do this, that, this, what, and the other. Preparation is very important for a lot of different reasons. Tech is one of the main reasons that why we added this, is because that, well, Sam, what would prep help you do if you were doing stuff for your tech?
Well, I could make more of my things, and I wouldn't have to roleplay it out.
Wow, that's amazing. I didn't ever think of that. No. Man, I really hope no one ever takes that out of context. Well, I could make my things. Wow, that's amazing. I didn't ever think of that. Like, just overly sarcastically. Sounding like as if being a complete arse.
Make that just a YouTube clip. Those 5 seconds.
Then you'd really be pulling in the views, Joe.
Just a YouTube short
of
me going,
context.
Wow, Sam, here comes the sarcasm train. Whoop whoop.
Just those compilations of, like those ones that like people really hate each other.
Yeah.
Like it's like Sam and Joe absolutely despising each other.
Yeah.
Or being the worst friends or whatever.
just like one of us saying something and then just immediately the other one having like a really good comeback, and there's just silence for a second, and then just what is it, like Misery plays by like Imagine Dragons. Oh, the Misery. The Enemy, no, that's it, not Misery.
Yeah. You can't even get it right. Gosh.
I don't know either of those references. I don't know anime. I don't know.
It was the Netflix show.
It was just a thing that happens a lot of the time on like YouTube edited things. Like people do it where it's like
it was. Oh, what was it? It was the It came out. What was it?
Oh, you're talking about the League of Legends thing.
Yeah, the League of Legends show.
Yes, yeah.
Which was really good by the...
I've heard that's meant
yes, I will. It is really good. Like the plot is good, the animation is good. I enjoyed it. I mean, I don't know if it's worth having Netflix. Well, actually, I'd say if you have Netflix, sure, watch it. But if you don't, I'd still recommend watching it. Just Netflix is not that great. But that's my opinion. Anyway.
Yes, so prep and downtime. Prep and downtime does obviously help almost every single character and every single player whenever they're trying to actually get something and achieve something where they don't actually have to roleplay for it. However, I was actually going to say, 2 sessions ago when we had every single person, like literally everyone, like Felix Fletcher, you, Tilly, Lily, everyone, literally everyone, right? Alex actually said to me, like, so how did you feel about the session? I said, well, other than my snafu with the audio, which then meant that I had to cut out about like 10 minutes out of the session and break it up into 2 parts. I said, I don't think it could have gone any better. I said there were a couple of little issues here and there, but like honestly, it was just really good. It was a really good thing. Everyone got everything that they wanted to do. Combat actually existed in the session, and weirdly enough, we didn't actually really go over the session's limit by that much. Overall, it was really quite fun. It was really quite good. However, the thing that actually was quite funny was I said to Alex, I said, well, the funny thing is that like the best part about it was normally in most of the games we have Bill instantly nullifying people, and then there was almost no point in me having any of the characters have powers, right? So it's almost like a bingo list, right? Okay, so that's going to be number 1. The other thing is like Juice barely gets any like sort of time to do anything because his character is quite timid and quite quiet. He's also quite a quiet person. He doesn't like interrupting people, so he doesn't often talk unless if there's a time where he can. So Felix doesn't often get a time to shine. There's then the thing of like Alex and Sam, both of you two end up having this situation where you spend way too much time doing your prep, buying stuff, going around, trying to build stuff, trying to fix stuff, arguing with me because you want to still spend more time on it. And that just annoys the heck out of me because we just spend too much time on it. Because again, like, wait until downtime or something, or even like, could you not do it like on the last hour of the session? And then finally, the thing hang on. The last thing that I say that like usually catches me, which is a little thing, is like often we'll have it where usually you work as a team, but you work as a team in the form of you just do stuff, right? And that's something that happened still in that session. But what I was going to say was the thing that almost always annoys me is that like I feel like sometimes there's going to be a point where I can tell, oh no, this is going to be a insert this person's name character episode where it's just going to mostly focus on them. And I was worried that it was going to be more of a utility Lily episode than anything else, because obviously we were introducing a character for the first time, and that's kind of fair enough. And as the episode
at the time,
as the episode was going off, we spent, I think, honestly, an adequate amount of time with your character over the episode, like a really decent amount of time with it, because you were introduced, you got to talk to them, we accelerated the plan, you got to still have your own little stuff, explain who you were, explain what you're about. We had everyone do their thing, like an arcade with the fishing thing. We had Cloak with the whole here's the plan and I'm gonna be the leader sort of thing. We had Rakia with the whole golden cracks and everything, the cracks make it more beautiful, especially when you look back at it and fill them in with gold and all this lot. And then, Felix got his whole Hulk out mode, and he was the one who defeated the entire encounter. And, we got like a really cool moment with, with Fletcher, him being a part of it. And again, him finally actually having an encounter where it's like, oh yeah, no, so you fail to dodge, but the bullets don't hurt anyway, because again, you're intangible, and everything that you do is just hilarious because no one can actually hurt you unless if they have like one of these 3 abilities. And so getting back to the that sort of the gritty parts of that of like, oh yeah, unless if they have this, you can't actually be harmed, because who would have thunk it? Intangibility being like an ability to be relatively invulnerable. We were able to shut down the prep time situation because again, it was like nearing the last hour of the session, and it was that thing of like, okay, yeah, we can't really spend too much time on this. So we were able to push forward and not have it that you guys argued with me for about like half an hour, so I'm glad that we didn't have that. And then finally, the cherry on the cake was Bill didn't get to nullify anyone. Yes, he did end up taking the last guy down in the final strike, but that was not anything that I couldn't really be upset about. It was such a brilliant situation because nothing was spammed, nothing was spent overly long with. The only thing that I guess you could argue for was the whole Felix thing, where he had so many attacks and the system for him was stupidly broken. However, that actually, thanks to that, we were finally able to change it because we realised, that's not a good idea. So we actually also got some data for the feedback for the game. And that's why I absolutely love that session. The last session that we just had was also really good as well. I really enjoyed that, and I'm looking forward to this Sunday session as well. But yeah, I just wanted to say that about stuff to do with the episode.
I can't remember what I was going to say because you spoke for about 20 minutes there, so I will try and remember what I was going to say.
You spent too long.
Yes, I remember now. I remember the 3 things I was going to say now, or 2 things at least.
Okay.
First one, we've not had much downtime. We've had about 3 in the 23 episodes we've had. One of them being when we were still in the tournament.
25.
One of them being whenever Utility. One of them being when Utility Lily didn't exist and Adrian had gone.
True.
I didn't have downtime at all, and I can't remember when the 3rd time was, but I'm assuming there is a 3rd time.
Well, the first reason is I couldn't have given you downtime before your character existed. That's not fair.
I know that. No, I understand. No, I'm not going against. I'm just saying that you don't have much downtime to do prep. We're mostly go. We're always on the move, so there's not much time to do downtime.
I don't think that's true. And here's the reason why, and this is actually why I was going to get into this. the other issue...
There was downtime on the ship, technically. I think people...
Yeah, there was. Yeah, there was about 18
there was,
hours.
but no one actually did anything with it.
No. I was actually going to say the backlash for prep and downtime is if you spend a lot of your time making a lot of episodes about mostly, not entirely, not 100%, but mostly about roleplay, you have this issue of like, okay, not really much has happened, not much XP has been given because the roleplay stuff that you did was just mostly talk. Nobody succeeded their roles that they were trying to achieve. And again, the story hasn't progressed. Like, I want to point out, like, there have been 5 episodes in the last 4 months, minimum 5 episodes, that had not really progressed the story any further. It was just more character stuff that didn't go anywhere.
That was also events just going backwards and forwards.
Yes.
Like something would happen and then the characters would do something that would take 2 steps back. That was honestly less a roleplay issue, more just issue of what was happening at the time, to be fair.
Yeah.
So
like, it was sort of character and then also sort of like, you know, situational, because I mean like the 2 biggest things is like, obviously, okay, well, character is injured, we need to go heal them. Okay, so this episode is about healing them. Alright, character is now healed. Okay, so now we're going to go off to this estate. Okay, this particular showdown is going to happen. Okay, so that didn't go well, so we're going to go move off to another location. Okay, so this location isn't very good for us, so we now need to move off to another location. Okay, so now we've now found a guy, we've beaten him up, but we've now told him that we're actually respectable citizens somehow, and that actually worked out. So we're now actually going to move away from the destination that we were going to go back on ourselves to go to another location where we end up actually getting a better deal.
I will say only on the last one, we didn't have much of an option that time.
No. However, it ended up working out because now you have a lot more of a fast-paced thing, and I think it also shows like the weird routes that all of us were taking, not just myself but everyone. I think that everyone was just like, what are we doing anymore? Like, where are we going? And now...
Why are we in this place? Well, we were here to fight Wendigos or something, weren't we?
You were originally going here.
That's no reason we came to this.
You were here to fight something that Joe made up or drunk.
Yeah,
the Yuri Kiri.
Some kind of weird deer monster.
By the way, how's the design?
Now suddenly we're in a civil war.
So... The funny thing is,
care about.
The funny thing is that you guys don't actually know what it is. But first of all, it's not a Wendigo, and second, it's definitely not a deer thing. I don't know where you got that idea from. It's supposed to be.
Imagine it had antlers.
No, it's supposed to be based on the description I said, because I do know the actual description, but I don't want to give away too much. But based on the description I said, it's supposed to be a relatively somewhat hidden creature. Not many people know exactly what it looks like. But everyone always says the same thing. It seems to have blade-like claws, or it seems to wield blades, or it seems to have a lot of sharp talons. Nobody really knows what it is, but regardless of any of that, every one of its victims always ends up sliced to pieces. Not many people...
That's the reason we came to this country now. We're in a war that... I think only one of us actually cares about.
Well, the funny thing is, you're not wrong. Like, there's nothing else to say to that. Like,
I've only got Cloak. Cloak's the only one that's actually invested. Anarche
only cares, but not for the reason that he probably should.
Is it just because Anarche cares because there's strong people to fight?
He cares because there's the strongest thing alive, and he wants to beat the shit out of it.
Exactly.
To test his strength. That's literally at the minute, and I guess he did promise to do this, so that's kind of the other reason why he's doing it, but it's kind of like that's just feeding into his other reason to do it.
Felix is also doing this out of a somewhat level of guilt, but also is because that he promised to do this, so therefore he's going to stick to his promise. That is literally the only reason why he's doing it.
Is the only person who actually cares about the people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's because none of the people actually showed themselves to be worthy of care. I think we've met a single person that's been nice to us.
Okay, I will say this. One town out of all the possibilities That's you're judging an entire country based off one town.
Also, I want to point out that town. I want to point out also that town that you went to isn't even technically purely from the south. It's kind of fascinating that like you're judging it based on a town that is supposed to be
the town, but I mean like everyone we've met along the way.
I want to point out that like the people that you have met, like I want to point out the people who recruited
most of them have been fairly reasonable.
Yeah,
and they
like
tried to attack us on sight.
Hang on a second. Kozuki Seryu and also the Emperor, and in fact almost all of Kozuki's clan didn't attack you on sight except from Jonathan, who, and in fair reason too, because he thought you guys were fugitives, which at the time your characters were. And then,
hey, I wasn't.
No, fair enough. Everyone but your character was. But like
I became one by beating him up.
And then obviously, like you smoothed it all over and everything was fine. And then at that point, he became actually, due to a ridiculous set of like charisma rolls, he ended up becoming weirdly enough, the most reasonable one out of all of them, which I didn't even really see coming. And then it just ended up being a situation where you're now in this thing. You've been indoctrinated into this family. It's like, yes, you may drink, You may eat with us. It's like, these people are so much more welcoming, and you're just going like, screw this place. This place is full of like a bunch of like angry people. It's like, these people aren't.
These
people just, they brought us in and they immediately wanted us to join their
The only case I will agree with you with was the Orochi person who wanted to fight
test. He didn't do that as anything.
The other reasons were more valid than that one. That is the least valid reason out of everyone. Because at least Kozuki, from the context he had, we had just beaten up you lot had just beaten up one of the Guardians. From the context he had, that is more than fair enough to then go, hang on, these guys are basically criminals, I'm going to prove that I'm going to set this right, basically. Like, that is more than fair enough. The you find the Phoenix person, because you basically accepted a debt to fast-track healing.
Yeah.
But that person was just being a prick. I want to test you because I've heard about this person from this other person who's been staying here that I have some respect towards. So I'm going to fight you, and then if you don't comply, I'm going to not allow you in.
I mean, he is supposed to be the character judge. He's supposed to judge people based on their character, based on any particular test that he gives them, and that particular test, Adrian failed. Obviously,
when someone says they don't want to fight, you say no.
And everyone out related to him. It wasn't even like a individual test. It was just no, it's
but obviously, as stated by this guy, he was infuriated because that he had basically tried to raise Zachariah up like another brother. And he had been so adamant that he didn't want to lose his last name because it's like an indoctrination ritual, right? You get rid of your past and, embrace the present and the future. And it's like, no, I can't do that because of the family, that, the ghosts of my past and my family and everything like that. And he sees this family and it's like, they're not worthy of you. And at that point, he pretends like it isn't personal, but it's obviously very personal to this guy. Because it's like, yeah, screw you guys. I'm going to prove that your family's toxic by being a toxic person.
As any family does.
And that was the point of the whole thing of like, it was either going to be like, oh yeah, I respect that, or it was going to be obviously the way that it turned out. And it's just like, oh, okay, this guy's a complete arse. And he's actually very violent, and it's very obvious that he has a toxic impression of the family because the Orochi family to him is everything, and he can't understand why it isn't to someone else. And it's therefore that thing of like, oh, it's clearly because that these people have a toxic hold on him, not the other way around.
But you see what I mean when I've yet to really meet someone that makes me care about these people.
One person. Also, Utilly Lily didn't meet them, and Utilly Lily met both the Emperor and Kozuki, and in fact Suzaku.
Made fun of her.
He didn't. Like, that's the thing.
He did. Yeah, it was rude to her. I vaguely remember that.
No, because in fact, they also invited you to join because of the quote unquote skills that you had, and it's that thing of like, that is at least relatively decent accommodation coming from them, and it's that thing of like, you're just like, no, I'm going to be salty and think that they're all terrible people. Just admit it, Sam. You're a salty little bitch.
And you've changed my mind. Drinks a cup of coffee.
But
whenever I meet a person I think would be worth saving, I will say so. Never you make a character that is good and decent.
What about Theo? Like, what about Theodore?
Who was he?
He was the mayor. He was the mayor of that town. Remember?
Oh, do you mean the one that hated us at first until we told him we were going to save him?
Actually, he didn't hate you. In
fact, he was cautious.
And that, at most. In fact, you guys all like came down from a flying platform, all holding weapons. He was like, yeah, come on over to my house, bro.
He was the most accepting person.
Yeah.
Although, I think that was partly selfish and a selfless act, because it was like, hey, we could do some help, and these guys look like they could be useful. But also, for the sake of everyone else, it's probably best not to get on these random people's bad sides that have
coming over to my house rather than the bar, where you might very well kill everyone, because I don't know who you people are, but some, if not most of you, have red bands on.
He was all right. He was a pretty good person. At least, well, okay, I wouldn't say good person, but what I would say is he was a good person in the context of what he was doing.
Yeah.
Don't forget, he also told IB being after someone that wasn't us started a fight in the bar.
He didn't actually tell you to leave. That was the bartender.
That was the bartender.
After we left, didn't he tell us to leave as well?
No.
No, you didn't ever see him again.
No, you didn't. No, okay. You were actually supposed to go see him later on that day.
He invited us for dinner, yeah, and we didn't turn up.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll be there later on.
We're the assholes in that prediction.
What did all those strangers who saved our town go? Well, I never guess what. This one asshole over here basically made fun of them, assaulted one of them. I told them to get out of the bar, and, they left immediately, promptly on a flying chunk of metal. They what now?
Yeah.
Someone's getting fired.
Yeah.
He's getting the chair. I mean chair dunked in water because they don't have electricity.
You know what? They'll just leave him with like a massive metal rod, like on the back of it. It's like, you're gonna get electrocuted in 3 to 5 days, because that's when we think that the weather is going to end up being stormy. Maybe.
No, it's one of those leave it to fate scenarios.
Yeah.
If you survive the lightning storm, fine. If you die, well, God chosen you're not worth it.
If I'm so bad, let God strike me. As like lightning strikes at me. I think we've.
When you just get any electrokinetic.
Yeah, true. I think we've kind of passed that point of no return where we are now literally just not talking about anything about prep time or prep or downtime.
Yeah.
But I guess the only thing that I will say for prep and downtime is it's good when you have the possibility for it. Because obviously sometimes you could get downtime, and the others know about this. Like, some of them asked me, can I learn this technique from someone else? And I said, no, because I want you guys to have it that you train, rather than just basically have it that I give you abilities for free. So I had it that most of them roll for their own abilities. Now, obviously, for your character, that could have been both an upgrade or a detriment. Because obviously, if you had said to me, hey, can I go over to the one location where I can get plastic from? I'd probably say no. But if it was within an arm's reach, or if it was within a decent proximity, and I don't mean as in flying away to another country proximity, I mean as in like it's in the same town as you proximity, then arguably yes, as long as it made sense to the lore.
I will say this, Sam, without getting the context, I am basically my character is the cheat code to your solution, so I wouldn't really worry about it too much.
Do you have the abilities to make things?
No, but
No.
we'll get into that later because
You'll
now,
find out later why I have the.
It is the end of this podcast. Thank you ever so much, Kane and Sam, for joining us with this episode. It's been a good one. We're gonna probably do a lot more freeform stuff like this. I think we'll have the subject there, but we might just not talk about it that much because I think it's just nice to actually just have freeform scale of just chat about the games, to be honest, and also just like random stuff about it because I think it's just quite an interesting insight to hear both of your opinions on stuff like this. Yep, okay, and that's definitely it.
That's our insight.
Thank you very much for listening, I guess. No, thank you very much for listening, everyone. Obviously, as always, if you want to hear more, then please check out hashtag Animite Tales on the YouTubes and also at Animite Tales or at OnGoerJoe for anything that you might want to hear about if I tweet it. We also do our games on Sunday and sometimes Saturday from Sunday it's 3 till 6. And for Sundays, for Sundays it's 3 till 6. For Saturdays it's 7 till midnight. And again,
you should probably give time specifics.
Yeah. Well, British time. England.
GMT.
I think I thought it was BST.
It's BST.
It's BST at the moment, but it will probably be changing in the next couple of weeks. But thank you for listening, and as always, have a wonderful night. No? Okay.
See you in the future? Maybe.
I guess you needed more prep. I guess it's time for you to have some downtime. Anyway, see you later. Ciao, ciao for now.